Welcome to another DK Custom Products video. I'm here with Chuck. This is our second try. And we'll link above the videos we did before where the audio was horrible, but this one we have different audio and it's going to be good audio. And we're here in Sturgis on August 7th, right behind Deadwood Custom Cycles. And we're going to talk to Chuck about his 2019 Tri-Glide with a 131 in it. You're in Kentucky now, but you got the 131 installed when you were in Colorado.
In Colorado. And after relocating to Kentucky, my local Harley dealer has a Trike dyno, and so I've gotten it retuned for the lower elevation, and it made quite a bit of difference.
So, people who've been thinking about a 131 in a Trike, first of all, it fits.
Yes, no problems.
You didn't have to do any frame modification, no gearing. Did you have to do anything, or did it just go right in?
It goes right in. I think Harley's concern was with the drivetrain. It wasn't a physical fitment issue at all. It runs better without a Screaming Eagle tuner. That limits what you're going to get out of a 131. You need, really, if you're going to do it, you need to do an aftermarket tuner.
So, and you did the Power Vision.
I've got a Power Vision.
The legacy Power Vision, not these new ones that have come out. You have the one with the screen and all.
I've got the one that lets me keep the unit up on my handlebars, and I can monitor my engine temps, and it runs cooler with the 131 than it did stock.
And is it fun?
Yes, it is. Very, very much so. You've got to be careful with it. You can't be banging gears or drag racing. The drivetrain is still stock. Mm-hmm. But if you're on a back highway and you're doing 55 and you've got a RV in front of you and you need to get around them, it's pretty instantaneous.
So, and when have you had any trouble with your drivetrain?
None. I've got probably 14,000 miles, 16,000 miles on the 131. No trouble at all.
Okay. So you're just assuming that if you were doing burnout, I mean, you have fun on it.
Oh yeah, I drive the motor hard. What I don't do is pop the clutch from a standing start. Occasionally, if you're not careful on the 1-2 or even the 2-3 shift, that's when it can pull the wheel up.
So you don't rev it and drop the clutch,
no.
But you get on it.
I run the motor hard. If I'm passing on a back road, I think the rev limiter when the motor was built was set to about 6,300 RPM. And I was told that I'm good up to the rev limiter.
What questions do you get asked a lot?
Well,
I'll ask them to you.
Sure. One of the things my 131 isn't the same way you'd build a 131 for a two-wheel motorcycle.
Okay.
It's not the crate motor.
Okay.
The dealer that built my motor stayed with the stock throttle body and went to a torque cam. And so my horsepower numbers, even after the retune in Kentucky, are not that impressive. You look at those numbers and you say, but my torque numbers, I'm over 130 foot-pounds of torque from 2,000 RPM to 5,000 RPM.
Wow. And folks, over 130.
I peak at 136.
136 foot-pounds of torque that's measured at the rear wheel tires.
Yeah.
That's different than a two-wheel bike because you have all the extra drag of those tires. So if that build was in a two-wheel bike, it'd be in the 140s, maybe touching 150.
And that's what I feel if I'm needing to make a pass and I want to do it safely on a back road. The torque is what gets you going and gets you around the guy. And it pulls, like I said, it's over 130 foot-pounds of torque right from 2,000 RPM up.
That's great.
And it just pulls.
As far as what Harley touts for the 131 kit, you can expect just over 130 foot-pounds of torque. Well, you can see on this Trike, he got substantially more than that, 136 foot-pounds of torque. Not just peak numbers. If you look in the RPM range where you would typically ride, it's substantially better throughout.
And the nice thing about the M8s, they don't have the weak cranks where, you know, you don't want to get on a twin cam until you're up around 2,800, 3,000 RPM for fear of twisting the crank. You don't have that problem with the M8, including the 131.
I haven't.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I played around with mine quite a bit. I don't know if I told you, I put a cam in mine.
No.
Yeah, I put a cam in it. We'll put a link to the video of that up here, and I could feel it. And I generally don't get on on it until 2,600 RPM, just from habit of riding twin cam so much.
Yep.
But I found that if I find myself down around 2,200 RPM and I want to twist the throttle, it's not going to hurt the M8 like it would a twin cam. And of course, it doesn't hurt all twin cams, but there's that chance. There's always that chance. So another question that comes up with trike lights in general, and especially if you go with the 131, oh, your miles per gallon are going to go down. And of course, we rode side by side for a whole day.
Yeah.
What, 2 or 3 tankfuls, and we'd fill up at the same time. And my 114, which is the stage 1, was getting pretty close to the same as yours with the 131.
Yeah.
But then, what happened this morning on your way in?
Well, so here at Sturgis, we stay down by Custer, and so it was an hour-and-a-half drive up here to see you at the meet and greet. We came up this morning, roads were a little wet, so I kept the speeds down, set the cruise control at 55 miles an hour. It was a 60-mile trip for me to get here. The Power Vision said I was getting 48.6 miles per gallon, but we know mine reads a little high. That was still just under 45 miles per gallon actual. So that's
131.
with the 131. And
Two up.
2 up. Oh yeah, that's yeah, I don't.
And it wasn't all downhill.
No, it's actually uphill. When you
Mostly
hit
uphill.
just before Brownsville, you're up at 5,800 feet. So it's uphill all the way from Custer till there, and then downhill into Deadwood.
So you pointed that out to me the other day because I posted what miles per gallon I was getting going over Beartooth and all that. And I think, I don't remember what it was. I was getting, what, 45, I think, is what, 44 or something. And you posted, well, you know, have you checked your Power Vision to see if it's displaying right?
Yeah.
And so then I did that the next couple of tanks, and I found that mine was displaying like 3.5 miles per gallon better on my Power Vision than I was actually getting. But the unique thing is, everybody thinks you get more horsepower and everything. You build the bike up and you're going to get worse miles per gallon. That's true if you build it wrong, but you built yours right.
Yeah, I think that the dealer that advised me on the choices to make on the build did a really good job. I think the engine he put together offers possibilities. If you stay out of it, I think I get better mileage than stock.
Because if you're playing around and you're going, you're still getting what? If you're riding hard, what kind of miles per gallon?
If I'm riding hard down at sea level, I'm down into low 30s.
So low 30s, which that's riding hard. That's better than most stock M8 trike lights are getting when people are riding them hard. So I was really happy the first time I saw your bike a few years ago, a couple years ago, I think.
Yeah.
That you had done some stuff to reduce the heat, including some stuff from us
Yes.
to reduce the heat.
Yes.
So what have you done?
Even before the 131, we did the cooling wings.
Cooling deflector wings?
Yep.
Yeah.
1.5-inch tank lift. I removed one of the
Thigh protectors?
Yep. Had done that. All those things added up, made a nice little difference. After the 131, we did the oil filter relocation. with the oil cooler and then the filter down underneath the
So the
passenger.
oil cooler right up below,
Yes.
right behind the lower left fairing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then we added the are they Mighty Mites?
Mighty Mite
on
fans.
there.
Uh-huh.
And I know with all of those little, I believe there's a lot of cumulative effect.
Yeah.
And before we relocated from Colorado, we'd go on a lot of group rides with the local hog group where you're climbing up and stopping to take pictures at the top of a 10 or 11,000 foot pass. And the whole group pulls in. My fans on the wet head
The radiator
Trike glide,
fan?
yes.
Uh-huh.
My fans consistently were the first to go off. Consistently. As stock bikes stayed on longer than my full mod 131.
And do you have a Vance and Hines air cleaner on it? Is that what you have?
Yeah, before I put the 131 on, I had a Vance and Hines Stage 1 with their tuner, their pipes, and they mod the air cleaner. And I still have their pipes and air cleaner, but
You put an external breather system on it.
I did.
Not
I
to
run.
put all that hot, oily, oxygen-depleted air in.
I have a sneaky catch can in there that I bought from somebody.
So
It's black, so you don't see it.
I was just really happy to see that. And also when we were riding together, and if y'all look at the video that we did before that has horrible audio that we linked above, you'll see that we were checking our temps. And so when you get a lot of people asking about the temps, the thing that was really interesting, I have everything that you have as far as cooling stuff down, tank lift, cooling deflector wings, all that. And our temps were almost the same, even though your higher compression, you would heat up a little faster, but you were cooling down a little faster than I was. And we had the same, I had the Mighty Mites on there. So even though you would heat up faster, you never got hotter than I did. You just got
I get there a little quicker.
a little quicker. So you'd mentioned that your builder did you good. And
Yeah.
one thing that happens, everybody always thinks bigger is better, so they want to get the larger throttle body. We have never seen the larger throttle body where there wasn't a drop in power, in torque. If you want high horsepower numbers, the throttle body, the bigger, larger throttle body and injectors will do that. But you sacrifice the get up and go when you're getting on the throttle because the torque goes away.
I've got the 6.5 injectors. I've got the big injectors with the stock throttle body.
Right.
There's a Screaming Eagle manifold that goes between the stock throttle body and going in, and so that's been.
And it's metal, not plastic.
Yeah.
Like it came factory with a plastic intake.
Yeah. So what that does is it increases the air velocity, which is what gives you the throttle response. And
Right.
that's what you notice if you're at 25, 3,000 RPM and you go to pass somebody, it's throttle response that you notice.
Right.
You don't have to wait for it to spool up. You go right away.
Yeah. You're not relying on the horsepower to get you going, it's the torque.
Yep. Where I'm at now, like last time we talked about, I was all motor, okay? And what I've been doing now, it's like my questions for you today about the fat tire. To make the bike more rideable, I'm focused more on suspension. I did your front end stuff last month with Dwayne's help. Love it.
With the Intimidators?
I had done the rear shocks before and was real happy with those and said, oh, the fronts won't make much difference. But with the 131, that front is more sensitive. It's too easy to get that front light.
Yeah.
And so now with the front suspension done, I stay in contact. Even if I lift up, the tire stays in contact. Even if I...
Because the Intimidators, there's two things. Number one, you always want your tire to be in contact with the ground. Well, most people do. With the 131, you like that tire getting light and lifting up every now and then.
Every now and then. But that's fine on the straightaway. And so when the motor was first done, it was a straightaway motorcycle. And now it's like, okay, how can I make this package corner better? And this
You want to keep the front tire on the ground
Yes.
when you're in the curve.
Yes.
Yeah, and the Intimidator, what the Intimidators do is they reduce the amount of time it takes for the tire to drop. So when typically, most people don't have your problem where they can just twist the throttle and the front end come up. But if you go over a dip or a pothole, instead of being to the other side of that hole before the suspension can drop out and keep that tire in contact the whole time, it keeps it in contact, and it also reduces the front end dive when you're getting on the brakes.
It does more than reduce. It's I'd almost use the word eliminates.
Eliminates.
It's reduces isn't a strong enough word. It's been a phenomenal change to how the bike performs in the corners. You can feather the brakes now coming into a corner, and the weight doesn't shift and throw off.
You don't lose all your suspension.
No.
Because a lot of times I talk about it and people go, what's going on? But from riding, you go into a corner hot, you put on your brakes. If you don't have the Intimidators, your suspension compresses. Now, with the suspension compressed, what happens when you hit a bump? All the suspension's already used up. So that's why you don't want to have that dive, so that you still have suspension when you hit a bump, when you're in a curve. Or if you hit a pothole, it'll drop out and stay in contact with the ground.
I just know it works.
You just know it works.
It's amazed. We just did the front end a month ago.
Yeah.
Dwayne sent the parts out.
What? They're that tall?
Yeah,
that big
the little tiny valves, and my dealer had never seen them before. And it just makes a phenomenal difference in the corner on the Trike. I still have a little bit of the two-wheel reflex where I grab the front brakes first, a little more than I should. And yeah, it stays flat in the corners now. Phenomenal difference.
Cool. So again, if you watched the clip, the clip that we put at the first where he was getting on it, is that sort of your normal riding style? Is to ride pretty strong?
I
not
ride
crazy, but
I ride spirited. I do. I enjoy the corners, and I enjoy going through the gears. I don't.
No reliability issues. You've not had any problem at all.
None at all. The motor has been bulletproof. I am careful. I'm not bashful about letting people try it. I just mentioned to people, hey, don't.
You let Kurt ride it, and that's all he talked about for months. And he has the twin cam. He has a 16. The 131 won't go in it. So, but because of what you did, he is planning on putting a 124 in his 16 Trike, because he felt, which is why I haven't ridden yours. But he felt that power because he let him ride it, and that's all that's on his mind since then.
It's fun. There's a lot of stigma, I think, going from 2 wheels to 3 wheels, and people do it for a lot of different reasons, and you don't have to drive slow just because you're on a Trike.
Oh no.
I rode like a jerk on 2 wheels, and I can still do it on 3 now. So. I had Mile High Harley Davidson in Parker, Colorado do it.
Okay.
It's a smaller dealership. There's a bigger Mile High Harley up in the Denver metro. So this is their smaller one. Parker, in Colorado. And we had to drive about 45-50 minutes to get there from the house. It was worth it. There's a lot of Harley dealers around us.
And they've done other 131s, but this was their first Trike.
This was their first Trike, and they did not have a Trike dyno. So after he got done and we made the choices on cams and what throttle body to go with and the pieces of the package, what he did is they had done that exact same build on a 2-wheel motorcycle, and he had that tune saved. They had done that one on their dyno, and he saved a copy of that tune, and so that's what he loaded me with.
And then you've had it on the dyno since. What dealership was that at?
Wildcat Harley Davidson in London, Kentucky.
In London, Kentucky.
Yep,
okay.
And they have a Trike dyno. London isn't a big town. And it's a fabulous dealership where we've relocated to, and they've got a Trike dyno, and the guy knew his stuff, and he retuned it.
Using the Power Vision?
Yes, yeah, and he was, it definitely performs better at sea level than it did with the Colorado tune.
And then one more thing, I know you don't want to give out your number or email address, but you go by High Altitude?
High Altitude with a D. It's a play on words.
Oh, okay.
High Altitude.
High Dude?
High Altitude.
High Altitude on triketalk.com. So if you have questions, I mean, you're on there. Sometimes you go a month without posting, but if they put something
I'm retired.
on there,
I travel a lot.
okay. So, but if they have a question, that you'll eventually see it on there.
Absolutely. I respond and try and join threads where people are asking questions on, is it worth putting a little more power into the Tri-Glide? I thoroughly enjoy mine.
Are you still running your factory rear tires?
Still factory rear tires. Because of the spirited cornering, I was not getting quite 8,000 miles out of the Dunlop fronts. And so I've got the Michelin Commander 2.
Yeah, Dunlop makes the American Elite.
No, not that one.
And then the Michelin Commander.
That's the one I've got. The Michelin Commander 2 rear tire mounted backwards.
And we'll put a video up in the corner that we made on how to do that and why we do that and how we don't recommend it. We can't recommend it, but it's the only thing I'll do, and you like it on
I am sold on I mean, just having the rear tire up there with the greater tread depth than they put on the front makes a big difference. I've got 8,000 miles on it already, and I still have more tread depth than a new front tire.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and I think the rear tire's not quite as rounded as the front. It's a little flatter, and I think it increases my contact patch.
Get that. And yes, we know that Avon makes a Trike front tire, but the one that they originally made was great. The one that they superseded it with, some people have really good experience with it, other people not so much, and they're hard to get to. So I guess that's it. There's more than a few threads and information. If you go to triketalk.com and you just do a search for High Altitude on triketalk.com, you'll be able to see some of the posts you've already made about the 131 in it. But yes, it looks like too much fun for me, which is why I didn't take you up on the offer. But I'm glad you're enjoying it.
You should.
Thank you.